on the drive yesterday. This one came out from the Ducati press team. Is a Ducati DesertX Discovery. So it's basically an accessory pack, but I thought we'd have a little look at it because it does look rather tasty. And this is one of the bikes, again, super popular at the show here. Lots of them going out on the adventure trail for demos and stuff like that. And it's been a bike that's been really well reviewed and well received, I think, since it launched. But it seems like they're trying to gear this one a little more towards the comfort and distance and touring side of adventure riding. Whereas before now, I think this bike has had quite an off-roady, sort of rally-inspired image. So what you're getting is reinforced handguards, a reinforced engine guard for a bit more protection underneath. It does come on with one as standard, I think, but maybe it's not particularly robust. And then you also get heated grips and a bigger windscreen, so that's going to give you, a bit more warmth over distance on those cooler days. And it also gets a center stand, which Ducati referred to in the press release as a central stand look. The central stand makes the motorcycle more stable, facilitating access to luggage during stops and maintenance operations on the chain and rear wheel. So I've never heard it called a central stand. That's not what you call it, though. Yeah, they've just made their own words. That might be a translation. Yeah. And then also on top of that, you get the 76-litre aluminium cases as standard, which combine functionality and style, allowing you to carry everything you need for limitless adventures. And then it's got an asterisk. It probably says not actually limitless.
It's like
the fuel range.
Yeah, was it like Pepsi Max that said about like having a jet? No, Red Bull I heard recently where it says Red Bull gives you wings.
And then they have asterisk.
And then they changed it to wings, as in like WIIINGS or something like that, because people actually did send them loads of messages being like, didn't give me wings, mate.
You've got to cover your ass, basically, if you're going to launch a product, haven't you? We might have to think about that with Full Tank Motorcycle Podcast. It is a motorcycle podcast, but is your tank full right now? You have to put asterisk. Anyway, this one comes in at £17,295 versus £14,995 for the base bike. Now, that base model, there's two ways to look at this. It's a lot of money for a middleweight adventure bike. If you think, I know like it's a 937 or whatever, so for a lot of people they say that's large capacity, but in the Ducati lineup I would say it's like the mid option versus the Multistrada V4. Yeah,
it's crazy that is mid now, but yes, that is mid.
15 grand's a lot of money. And then if you look at something like a Tenere as a much more basic and spec down version, that starts at about 10 grand. 790 Adventure is down around that sort of money as well. And even the really good ones like Norden 901, Tiger 900 maybe, 890 Adventure. I think you're more looking in the 12 and 13 grand range. In fact, even the BMW F900 GS, which looks really good. I've got one of those coming in August to test out, but it slimmed it down a lot, made it a lot more off-road focused. It seems as a response to bikes like this, which has really nailed that. That is like in the 11 and 12, I think, kind of range. So, this bike is already quite expensive.
Yeah.
2,300 for luggage, sump guard, handguards, heated grips, bigger windscreen. It's quite a lot, isn't it?
I'm interested to hear what the second way of looking at that was. Because you started with, one of the ways to look at it is that it's quite pricey, and I'm not seeing any other direction.
I think the other way to look at it is it's really good. Like, people will say it's a properly good bike, the DesertX. So 15 grand, you may as well spend the money. It's a Ducati, you get a little bit of that.
It's potentially class leading, is it sort of fair to say?
I think some people would probably say that.
Yeah.
In terms of how it rides, it's really good on the road. And then, of course, with that sort of spec, it's always going to be pretty good off-road as well. So for adventure riding, well, you're not maybe doing hardcore stuff, but it's easily capable of.
Yeah.
And in the right hands, it's probably very impressive what it can do. So that was just my perspective on the. And if you think about like features, like it's got a V-twin, quite an exciting engine to have.
True.
It's got loads of power. It's like one of the most powerful bikes in that market.
It genuinely offers something different from the rest of the crowd. Because like you say, most of them, if they're that capacity, are going to be, or that size, are going to be a parallel twin, not a V-twin. And there is a subtle difference between the two. And it is, in the right hands, an absolute weapon.
And it looks so good as well. It still looks good to me. The only thing I will say on this Discovery Edition is this red and white paint job. I'm not maybe quite so fond of it as the standard white, which they've done a few different versions of it now. The one that I reviewed actually had this quite cool black paint job with a graphical treatment and some kind of like red accents. I do think that looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think still the base model the regular first version that they released is probably my favourite. But I suppose that's another thing you get added here is a dedicated paint job. And it is red, which is fitting for a Ducati.
Yeah.
rate it, or where do you land on this one?
Yeah, I think exactly the same as you said. I prefer the original and the white. It just looks so good in the white with black details across it. Red's great, but yeah, more practical. I'd probably still go with the original.
Mate, we've got to do it. Our editor will have to speed this up. But the only thing to do to say whether this is actually worthwhile is to go onto the Ducati configurator with the standard DesertX, configure it. We're going to add all those accessories. We'll fast forward this bit and then tell you how much it costs. Right, we've done it. And it comes in at £17,991.29 to be exactly precise. And so the resolution of this section of the podcast is that the DesertX Discovery, I had to remember the name there, is in fact a good deal because you save about 700 quid versus if you just took the standard DesertX and spec'd it up with the exact same accessories from their parts catalogue. So in that sense, fair play. They're offering a bit of a deal there, so well done.